constitutional amendment for better democracy and better capitalism. When, in the course of history, new communications empower citizens to better represent their interests, problems, and concerns, then new public policy making means and guidelines are required. The foundation of this amendment to a great historical document. Two principles underline this foundation of civilization. Principle 1. Better democracy. The role of government is recognized herein and timistically as the universal manager of the time of the governed, whose consent to be ruled must be observed and be current. Government is in the business of time management through laws, regulation, taxes, and mentoring. The mandate of government is to maximize the quality of time in the governed's life by maintaining a body of laws to optimize the level of capitalism and democracy to profit the citizens. Democracy is the best form of government, if optimal, to tap the intelligence of its citizens to solve their time-wasting problems. When the politicians make good policy, the polity and the polis will be polite without the need of police. Principle 2. Better capitalism. Timistically, capitalism rewards the individual for using his capita, his head, to solve his problems. Essential to pure capitalism is a common intermediate product, currency, by which citizens can honestly exchange their problem-solving time, elsewhere and time. Legislative reforms within a constitutional amendment for better democracy and better capitalism. Legislative reform requires not only citizen legislators instead of career or habitual politicians, but timely citizen legislation. Using brain bees, we can have monthly citizen legislation in which the president or state governors receive the 7 final issues. Within 2 days, the national or state executive must either submit them to the legislation or explain why. Within 2 days, the respective legislature must vote on issues. Within 2 days, the respective Supreme Court must rule on constitutionality. With monthly citizen legislation, the constitution of 3 branches of government are maintained, with checks and balances, while opening a citizen pipeline of problem solutions to bypass lobbyists. Voting law. All voting for public office will be done in a manner that requires redundant counting. Local voter registrar, a media representative, and selected citizens fulfilling the jury duty. Congress simplification. Congress needs to be restructured based on better democracy and capitalism. Congressional budgets and staff can be reduced by 90% because of citizen legislation, lines of communication, and weekly legislative brain bees. Congressional terms will be adjusted as follows. A district congressional team consists of 2 voting members. A state senatorial team consists of 6 voting members. Senior members represent delegation and congressional photo ops. Members are elected for 1 term. 1 member is elected each year per the staggered election schedule. Each member is limited to 1 secretary. Members are elected observing the principle of women 50-50. Ostracism should be reintroduced because legal laws trail the logic of economic change, because politicians can be corrupted to abuse public lawmaking to enact private laws, that is, economic privileges, and because some individuals violate the human foundation of all civilized laws, unalienable rights. Capital retirement. With technology and 24-hour confirmation, America can save the security cost of Congress, and Americans can acknowledge the fact that no debating occurs in Congress. Capital here can be mothballed like the USS Constitution, open for visitors but no longer needed for day-to-day national problem solving. As brain bees are replacing experts with instantaneous expert information, so should we retire our capital syndrome of habitual politician, constant corruption, and legislative abdication. Judicial reforms within a constitutional amendment for better democracy and better capitalism. Judicial reform of federal courts. In response to the politicized corruption of the judicial branch of government, as well as confirmation constipation in the U.S. Senate, the following procedures will be observed for the U.S. Supreme, Appellate, and Circuit Courts. The United States must never again have the Supreme Court usurping the enfranchisement of the people or constitutional rights of Congress. Upon vacancies of a federal judgeship, the online brain bee process will be used to present 7 candidates to the President for submission to Congress. Federal judges of the Supreme, Appellate, and Circuit Courts will be limited to a number of years on the bench corresponding to the seats on the corresponding federal bench, with the oldest seated judge being replaced annually on July the 4th. Litigation reform. Cases submitted to judges shall be prioritized by the supplicants in batches of 7 using the online brain bee process, federal and state. Information age technology will be used to promote self-resolution rather than costly judicial resolution of personal and public matters. Multi-million-dollar trials will be replaced by inexpensive, expedient, internet-based grand juries using brain bees to prioritize information of guilty, innocence, and extenuations. The principle of women 50-50 will be observed in selecting judges. For too long, the judiciary has been outside needed constraints to stop repeated denial of justice at the bar. Executive branch reforms within a constitutional amendment for better democracy and better capitalism. The executive branch needs to be restructured to de-imperialize the presidency, to reduce its excessive cost and increase its problem-solving focus. Presidents are to become private citizens with no funding for public promotions. No federal funding will be provided for living, existing, or future presidential libraries, pensions, or funerals. Federal patronage with the elimination of campaign financing and welfare, and with the standardization of online brain bees to democratize issues and individuals, all federal cabinetships and ambassadorships will be so selected. Pardons on a monthly basis. Online brain bees for pardons will be conducted with the 7 finalists being sent to the President or Governor. No presiding national or state executive can initiate pardons on their own, though they can, as individuals referencing their elected office, participate in online democracy. Pardons cannot be used to reverse ostracism. Pardonable crimes are not against the chief national or state executive, but against the people. The people, not the executive, should provide a list of pardons for the chief executive to legitimize or reject. Why? Pardon politics. Presidential order of succession. To have the president focus on the duties of the office to solve the problems of the land rather than the problems of re-election. The existing constitutional amendment number 22 in 1951, limiting the president to 2 terms, is superseded by this amendment, which limits the president to 1 term. Furthermore, like the congressional reforms, the presidential team shall consist of 4 members. The senior member will occupy the White House for 1 year. The VP will be the second most senior member. Chief of Staff will be the 3rd member, with the new member being Assistant Chief of Staff. The annual brain bee with weekly voting cycles will commence on July 4th, with the new term beginning 30 days after election. Special elections will be held to fill vacancies. Economic reforms within a constitutional amendment for better democracy and better capitalism. Public pensions. Legislators, executive, and judges of the United States of America shall be limited to the general public pension provided to average citizens of the nation. A new national pension system will be established based on an absolute non-inflatable currency, with the citizens defining the level of their retirement relative to the current living standard. Taxes. Current sales, usage, and income taxes will be replaced by a uniform transaction tax of all transactions that benefit from the umbrella of economic stability. Collected taxes will be apportioned to the hierarchical tax units of the buyer and seller, district, state, national, and global. Specialty taxes or fees will be used to curb problem-causing activities. Individuals can reduce residual transaction taxes through quantified community service. Fines. Like felony convictions in which the poor and the rich serve equal time when equally convicted, so shall the fines for misdemeanors be based on life-hour values of the offender. Currency. Productive deflation. Economic policies will be reviewed to determine if the impact raises or lowers the cost of living for basic needs, with the goal of productive deflation in goods and services deemed essential for American citizens and humanity. The valuation of the basic currency will be synonymous with providing the average citizen with a secure retirement vehicle that does not require 24/7 obsession with paper manipulation in financial markets, so that citizens can have more time for self, family, and community. Work week length and inflation. The work week length will be adjusted to provide full employment by adjusting when overtime starts. Overtime will remain at 1.5 for employees, with an additional hourly wage surcharge paid as a tax to prevent misemployment. All regular compensation will be converted to a life hourly wage rather than annual salary per position. After political theft, the number one cause of inflationary suffering is a work week length not optimized for an economy. Payments for goods and services. No country or people can survive if the problem causers are paid at the expense of the problem solvers, which increases the problems in the land. All laws and regulations shall be shaped by the consideration of no one being overpaid for the goods or services. The currency that one receives in all transactions shall reflect what one is worth as a problem solver. All transactions shall be structured so as to reveal the true absolute profit, that is, all the participants proceeding forward pro rata equally. All forms of overcharging will be punished. Interest rates. Upon the passage of this amendment, lending institutions will be in quarterly reductions limited to 2%. Tort reform, to promote more responsible corporate business practices and to eliminate citizens from paying for corporate misdeeds through higher inflationary prices. All corporate fines and judgments shall be paid through corporations' equity rather than treasury. A primary stock will be issued superseding all other classes of stock in voting and ownership rights until the misdeed is capitalized. A corporation can only resort to insurance or bankruptcy after equity has been transferred to the victim of the corporate misdeeds. Bankruptcy. In recognition of how bankruptcy is borne by individuals within a society as businesses pass on the bankruptcy cost, successful bankruptcy petitioners will incur weekly 4-hour community service for the duration of the bankruptcy. Community service will be within a national service agency. Failure to perform community service will reinstate the debt. If bankruptcy is corporate, the top 5 executives incur the national debt. Speculators in 4-year sunset. People not gainfully employed cannot purchase financial instruments. By motivating the financial community to organize the average wage earners to pool the resource to provide needed goods and services at anti-inflationary pricing, the instability of the stock market and insecurity of pensions will be replaced by a smooth-running retirement process. Corporations reform. In light of the mess that corporate executives and directors have made of America and humanity, corporate boards will consist of an equal share of directors from shareholders, employees, and consumers. With a constitutional convention for better democracy and capitalism, we shall have more freedom and liberty in a safer, saner world with more disposable time and money.